this little teeny thing. And this is a 1 ounce gold coin. Central banks globally, they've been massively accumulating gold. Gold is completely out of the system. It doesn't need anybody to say that it's money. And according to the Bank for International Settlements, gold held at home runs no political risk. It is the only financial asset that runs no counterparty risk. In other words, this is not your debt that I have to count on you to pay, right? It runs no counterparty risk. It's a proven inflation hedge over time. And, gold is critical for you to have completely outside of the system, because look at this little teeny thing. And this is a 1 ounce gold coin. And it's an easy way to carry a lot of wealth in a small little package that truly is outside of the system that I hold and I own outright. It's critical.
Lynette Zang stated that gold is the primary currency metal, the one they use to revalue currencies during those overnight resets. She mentioned that silver is the secondary monetary metal, and while both are used in manufacturing, silver has a lot more industrial uses. According to her, gold doesn't get used up in production or industry, it's all recoverable. Apparently, we can account for about 98% of all the gold ever mined over thousands of years, but silver gets used up, so you'll see it move toward its fundamental value along with gold. However, she insists it won't be Wall Street telling us its true value. It'll be the central banks when they do those overnight revaluations. Lynette also pointed out that when we move to a digital currency, like the digital dollar, some people might think that will fix the system. But according to her, that's not going to happen because they won't change their behavior. She's adamant that what absolutely has to happen is burning off all the debt. We've accumulated trillions and trillions of global debt. That's what she says hyperinflation is really about, burning off all that debt until it becomes clear that the dollars, euros, yen, or whatever currency people hold have no value at all. She admits it sounds crazy, but Lynette claims a lot of things coming to pass now seem just as crazy when she mentioned them before. She says her job is to tell people so they can make educated choices.
So what will happen is we'll go into hyperinflation mode, and then people will lose complete confidence in the currency, in the system, and they'll stop using it. And they'll go to a barter system. So you'll get real local for a while. That's where silver really comes into play. And you'll go real local. And then what will happen is they'll want you to use the currency again. So, like a pack of gum could cost, $12,000, which I know sounds outrageous, but it won't soon, right? So they'll lop off zeros and they'll do that overnight revaluation. And then you'll see gold, like in Venezuela, it went up overnight like 3,500%, something like that. And Venezuela has had now 3 overnight revaluations against gold. So they do that to gain the public confidence again, but they won't change behavior yet. Globally, on average, it takes them doing it 3 times before then they go into a system where we actually would have gold to a degree backing the new currency. That's when they'll get the confidence back. But the next currency won't be good until there's a component of gold to stabilize it, because what gold does is it requires the government to have fiscal responsibility. They have to live within their means, or at least on a relative basis. Right now, there's no restrictions. As we've seen, as we've witnessed, no restrictions on how much new money can be printed. But every time that happens, the value of what's already out there is lost, or it loses more, I should say. But we're all experiencing a huge amount of inflation right now, although it's going to get worse. There's not one doubt in my mind, I can't guarantee this, but I'm pretty darn sure that we are at the beginning of a hyperinflationary event. And the only difference between inflation and hyperinflation is the speed of that inflation. The problem is that there's virtually no purchasing power left in the US dollar. If you go on the Federal Reserve's website, the FRED, F-R-E-D, and in the search bar, you put in purchasing power of the consumer dollar, what you'll see is that there's officially 3 cents left out of the original dollar's worth of purchasing power, which means it's worse than that. And all of this inflation that we're experiencing, we are losing rapidly whatever little bit of purchasing power is left.
Lynette Zang has been saying that we're in the final phase of this fiat, government debt-based money system. She's pointed out that one of the signs of this phase is very high inflation. She's worried that a lot of people are procrastinating because they think they'll somehow know the exact moment before they lose all choices. That's her big concern, that people will delay, get distracted by meme stocks or the rising stock market, and think they can make money there instead of buying gold. She says that even though gold is near its high, people think it's too expensive, which is ironic because stocks, even at 1,000,000 times earnings, aren't considered too expensive, while gold, with its broad base of buyers, remains undervalued. According to her, gold and silver are the only assets that are severely undervalued because a rising gold price indicates a failing currency. Lynette suggests that if you've got gains in some assets, that's great, take those gains. But she's urging people to get prepared now because what's really at stake is your freedom. She insists that might sound crazy, but it's just history repeating itself. She's noticed that insiders are getting out, but the average person is either staying in or just getting in. She's been urging everyone to stop and think, to use their brains, because we're running out of time. She's also advised people to consider their personal circumstances and what they can do. Lynette keeps telling people not to procrastinate, get your gold and silver now. She says you need to secure your food, water, energy, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter, because these are all essential to maintaining a reasonable standard of living, no matter what happens.